Well, yes, I do talk to dead people. Maybe the scary part for some people is that they do talk back. I started having some awarenesses at a very, very early age. For instance, when I was about 4, I realized that I was an older soul than my parents. I just looked at them and went, oh my God, they're children. I can't believe they're in charge of me. I better hurry up and grow up because this is insane. And throughout my life, I was always aware of the fact that my parents were young, younger than I. And I, unfortunately, growing up in a toxic, dysfunctional family, a lot of times I was parenting my parents, which is a pretty common experience for most survivors of dysfunctional, toxic families. But the part that was, I think, a little unusual is that I just had this awareness very early on that I was older than them. And when I was 17, and I had endured 17 years of a very traumatic childhood, being suppressed by a high demand religious cult that I was born into, being sexually abused in various ways since I was 6 by my dad, growing up in a home where there were pedophiles on my mom's side of the family and my dad's side of the family, pedophiles that I was warned to stay clear of, although nobody ever tried to protect me from my dad, which is unfortunate. And then there was domestic violence in the home because my dad hit my mom pretty regularly. And there was that threat that he would hit us. And then he seemed to really enjoy killing small animals and doing so in front of me. And that was traumatizing. So at 17, I don't think it's very shocking that I was contemplating suicide, thinking about taking myself out. And I reached up to the heavens and I just said, does anybody give a damn whether I live or die? And in that moment, I felt spirit arms go around me and give me a big hug and just hold me in love. And it was so vivid, so real, that I just took note of it and thought, oh, somebody does care if I live or die. Okay, I won't kill myself. I'll keep going. Now, that didn't dissuade me from my drug and alcohol addiction. I continued that until I was 25. When I was 25, I had a spiritual awakening, and it came in the form of 2 rather nondescript dreams, but I woke up from those dreams and suddenly knew I want to be sober. I need to be sober. If I don't get sober, I'm going to die. And that was very real to me, that I was probably in 6 months I'd be dead if I didn't get clean and sober. So I entered a spiritual program, a 12-step program, for my sobriety. And that day, which is September 4th, 1985, I was 25 years old. Now you know how old I am, 66 this year. I had a spiritual awakening, and the desire to drink and use drugs, which had just ruled my entire life and was taking me to the precipice of death, woke me up, and I haven't had a desire to drink since. Now, I have at times in 40 years of recovery, life on life's terms, it's been difficult at times, and it's been wonderful at times. Life is life, and it presents us with a lot of things. Good things, bad things, challenges. We're up, we're down, we're all around. And so there were times, a few, where I felt suicidal. And it was usually something that pushed me back into my childhood trauma. So I've had therapy all of those 40 years as well. And I've made an enormous recovery. And I still work with trauma responses that are just kind of hardwired into my poor little body, because it's been traumatized since I was 1, and I almost died of a kidney infection when I was 1. It was in and out of the hospital for a year, and then they saved my life, thank God. Yeah, it's been a rough one, actually. But a lot of us have been through a lot of things. And I know that when I tell my story, it's usually more It's usually hard for people to hear about. I get that. But almost all of us have had some trauma. Those of us that have had like that big T trauma, and particularly adverse childhood experiences which accumulate year after year, that's called complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And it's different than the post-traumatic stress disorder that you might get if you were in a plane crash, because it's attached to your attachment wounds. Your caretakers did not take care of you. Even if they fed you, clothed you, and gave you a roof over your head, they're not attending to your emotional needs. And so that causes a dysregulated nervous system, and we wind up with complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So I was diagnosed with that as well. I think at this point that I probably would not be diagnosable with that. But I still have lots of inflammation and tension in my body. It's like it's on fight or flight all the time. So I think that is common to survivors of traumatic childhoods, particularly sexual abuse. And I also think that there's something about that level of trauma that kind of splits us wide open so that we actually can talk to dead people. So I'm not saying everybody does. We all have different psychic gifts and we all express them in different ways. But for myself, just before I got sober, this was one of the things that drove me to get sober. I was having some dark energies in my house, and it was scaring the heck out of me. One time I sat down on the toilet and I looked up, and there were these two disembodied green eyes staring back at me. And it just scared me to... It gave me the creeps. I ran screaming from the bathroom. I wouldn't go back in there. My boyfriend came home. I said, there's something in the bathroom, and I'm afraid to go in there. And he didn't ask me what, by the way. He just went in, said, get the hell out of here. This isn't your house. Came back out, looked me in the eyes, and he said, green eyes, right? And my mouth fell open. I said, I didn't tell you that. So he saw it too. Anyway, yeah, I kind of went running and screaming to sobriety at some point, like, get me out of here. And I ended up having, you're not going to believe this probably, but I went to see a Catholic priest so that those spirits, those dark spirits, would leave me alone. Because even a year into my sobriety, it was still a problem. And I couldn't close my eyes without seeing what I would call demons. So I don't consider myself a Christian. I was raised as one. I read the Bible from cover to cover when I was 12, and that was enough to turn me off. But I was so glad that Catholic priest was able to do his incense and his Latin and his holy water and all the stuff that he did, because I wasn't plagued with those dark spirits anymore. Now, in the 40 years that I've been clean and sober, I have had quite a few psychic events. Some of them you might have had. Precognition. I just have known certain things were going to happen. I knew I was going to be on a certain television show in the 90s. I knew. And my husband says, why? Did they call you? And I go, no. He goes, what, did you call them? I go, no. He goes, how do you know? And I go, I don't know. I just know. Within the year, I'm going to be on that show. And I was. And no, I never did call anybody. So I knew I was going to have a book deal by the time I was 45. And there was no agent, no publisher, and quite frankly, no book at that point. It was just like I knew. So there have been times when I've had precognition. And when I have lost some loved ones, I have connected with them after they've passed over to the other side. And I've had full-blown conversations with them. And it's given me a sense that we are, I don't know, when I say the word eternal, it feels weird in my tummy. Like, really? What could be eternal? But it's the only word that seems to fit. I just know death is not the end. And, yeah. What I would be interested in is if you've had any of your own psychic experiences, And if so, what they were like. And if you still are, if it happens a lot or just a little. And do you think there's a connection to the level of trauma that you endured or not? Maybe you just were born with those gifts. Myself, I have noticed that some people have had really, really difficult childhoods, seem to have particularly accentuated psychic gifts. So, yeah, I look forward to your comments. I am also going to ask you if you would hit the like button and maybe even subscribe to this channel and share it with any of your friends who you think might find this topic interesting. Again, the topic, survivors and psychic phenomena.